I'm not sure what I want to do. Fancy doing something quite involved. Might tackle this area. I think I'm going to use the clone. Maybe not. Well, so that's 14, 12. What? Opacity 40%. I should zoom out. I need to see this. So I'm trying to blend this. There's obviously there are gradations of light. Maybe bigger. So I'm trying to follow the lines where there are different grades of light and soften them by moving the dark into the light and the light into the dark. If I do this enough, it'll break up the definition. Do it more than that, it'll turn it into texture. If I carried on for long enough, it would be homogeneous. So I need to know when to stop. Try not to be too obvious. This just like when you're mixing together anything else. You can add a little bit to one and then add some of that mixture back to the original. And keep going until you get the blend you want. I think that should be darker. And come in a little bit. I discovered yesterday that participating in this activity after I've done my chores, after I've had a little bit of exercise, and after I've sat in the garden, that is what works best. I can't do it otherwise. Yesterday, I got really hungry, and because I'm so conscious of my stomach growling and being quite loud, I thought, well, I'll just have something to eat. Well, I can't eat unless I'm watching Scandinavia, so I put that on, and then I kept eating. Then my mood changed and I couldn't do this. I tried. I lasted about 2 minutes. Just wasn't interested. So, oh, that's too strong. So I have to sit in the garden for a little bit. And I have to be hungry. Also, you may not have noticed, I'm not talking preternaturally slowly anymore. So what I realized is that changes which may not be obvious at 100% zoom do become more obvious the way I like to work, which is quite close. So I don't really need to speed the visuals up. Therefore, I do not need to speak slowly. However, I am endeavouring to be more staccato, to not slur, and to enunciate without getting too animated, because I'm still not sure if the point of me talking during this isn't to help people sleep. I really don't mind that idea at all. That was my original thought. So people would put this on when they felt tired. There's blending. A close only nostril. Still darker around the top. I think that is maybe some pixel pushing I've done earlier. So I only have a handful of imperatives that I need to follow if I'm going to speak. Being boring or not doesn't figure. But any axes that I've got needing grinding, they have to stay hidden. I need to be relatively upbeat. I need to have been visually inspired, which is why I go out into the garden. I'm going to allow myself to be quite soothed, if you know what that means. I can wax lyrical. I can draw peculiar parallels. I shouldn't talk about anything that's going to upset anybody, and it's quite healthy to get out of that mindset. Lots of axes, but they do not need to be constantly ground. You can see there's a close only effect 100 at the moment. Because see, if I keep going, the texture becomes finer and finer until it vanishes. And I started off aiming for an isolated area to clone into, but the more you do it, the less those areas are apparent. The little islands become smaller. Then they start to join up. I want to keep a roughly obvious alteration. You see how I've gone too light in this area. This is too right. Look at that. Because I'm at the opacity of 40, I can aim for darker areas than I would go to if it was 100 opacity. So I want this to be sort of that, but because it's 40, I go darker. And it should be around about the same. Or I could go over the same area twice from the same clone. Also, the problem with me maybe not making much sense and being ever so dreary to listen to is because I am kind of trying to concentrate on what I'm doing rather than what I'm saying. Break this line a little. Okay. Now I've realised I need to be lifted up a little bit before I do this. I can't watch detective dramas before I do this. Puts me into completely the wrong mindset. I also thought what would be good is if I get some kind of a chalkboard or a whiteboard, and once I've been in the garden, write down a few things that have caught my imagination, and then I can pontificate about them. For instance, and I've not written this down, this is unscripted, and I can't hear myself. For instance, I don't know whether I dreamt it or whether I read or saw it. Probably saw it, to be completely honest. That if a cell, a human cell, or any mammal, is deprived of sodium, it can't metabolize dopamine properly. Have I dreamt that, or is that true? Salt is often portrayed as the worst possible thing you can do to yourself. But what if without it, you can't enjoy anything at all? Which then made me think about where the word celery comes from, and that salt used to be used in payment for reduced labours. But then I thought, what was actually happening was that people were only allowed to be happy if they had done something beneficial for the person who knew where the salt was. Is that the start of capitalism? I find that quite horrifying. And of course later on I will find out that it's not true, that I did dream about salt being needed by cells in order to metabolize dopamine. In which case, what an absolutely freakish dream. How's that going? Now, does this need to be lighter? I think I bring the darkness down. Darkness down, or lightness up. Let's see. I can always turn the opacity down, which will make it much more forgiving. I can feel my stomach is growling away, and I hope it's not auditorily obvious. I think I have to be hungry. I don't know whether this activity promotes the production of ghrelin in such a way as the mother on the phone apparently will make a woman produce urine, or it's because to get to the stage where I can do this, I've already done 40 minutes of brisk exercise, 40 minutes of housework, not had any breakfast, dealt with the 10 minutes of the thing I don't want to deal with ever. Just always changing. So of course I'm hungry. No, we don't really need these obvious marks. I keep remembering what this is. It's not just a random pattern. Listen to Jane Weaver. I've gone quiet. I'm also quite engrossed. Should I blend? And this is done pixel pushing, smudging. I think this was done pre-enlargement when it was still 6,000 pixels. So you can see very obvious lines. It's very smooth. I think maybe this is why it might be a good idea to do the image at 6,000 pixels in scale. Really quite extensively, and then enlarge it, and then add details back. Give it a little class. You see, but it's easy to make a mistake like that. This is Father Ted in the car all over again. This is too dark and too obvious. Fancy that though. salary might actually be all about restricting happiness. Makes happiness a commodity. That's from I'm sorry, my stomach is growling like mad. Which means if I am to invest in a proper microphone, I know I need one of those unidirectional ones. Well, I need a BAFTA for my stomach. So originally I was trying to keep to the same zoom level, which is not my natural way. I've given up on trying to stay still. How's my zooming? Am I an accomplished zoomer? Middle line. This needs to be darker. All along the top here. Where's the darkest area? I'll take some from there. Just go along this edge. In the lighter areas. Just a bit of this. Just very dark. I was actually quite frightened of tackling this area. I think it may be second only in the terror it holds to the eyelashes. Better. So there's kind of a pecan. Excuse me. And this is an area where the line dwindles very gradually. There should be some shading there, but at the minute it's all too full up. I'm gonna just blend out the clump light onto dark. And there are no real skill to this. To me, it's a lot like when you're a gardener and you're pulling weeds and you're working fast. You're transplanting seedlings, pulling weeds. You just kind of get to know what's in your periphery to move it to a new place. The thing I don't like about the colour brush on this, and now I realise it can probably change in settings or show overlay. I'm just not sure. You see, show, it's still there. Still there. It's that when you've cloned, this stays over the area that you're cloning from. I kind of like to see everything. I think it's too obvious for me. There shouldn't be a line there at all. That should continue round. It's blending. I'm so tempted to start pushing. Just maybe to get a rough idea. Now, I can't listen to myself. This is why I have to listen to music really loud on headphones. If I could really hear myself, I think I would seize up. That doesn't mean that I can't feel, particularly in my cranial cavity, the rough shape of the things that I'm saying, and the tone. Clone that. The three brushes I tend to use most, if not exclusively are the brush and smudge brush, the clone, and the lighten and darken brush. Clone brush is very useful for when you just need to change the general luminance of an area. If you start pushing pixels around, you do get that halo that runs ahead of the brush. The clone, in a way, is like the knight in chess. It's the only piece that can jump. So this is about the level of suit that I want to be. Comparing chess to clone brushes. And of course musing about salt. I was also thinking about salt in a completely different context. Do you know how people say that just a little is probably too much? Well, I think I'm like that with human interaction. And just the tiniest bit is probably enough. I think that's just the way I'm made. And for me, daylight probably has enough hidden salt in it. This becomes more pink, but it has to curl around. And I made too obvious a line there. That's a good feed. It's just vanished completely. That obviously was done when this image was still 6,000 pixels. And for some reason the other day I told somebody that I enlarged these images to 20,000 pixels because I often get things with the number 2 mixed up along with odd numbers. I always get odd numbers mixed up. 15 and 17. Terrible. But even numbers I'm better at. However, I will confuse 12 with 20 sometimes. This is actually 12,000 pixels. And I asked ChatGPT how big in centimeters or inches this would be if it was printed at 100 resolution or 100 zoom. And ChatGPT reckoned it would be about 3 feet. Too dark though. Oh, they're so pretty, but I'm gonna have to get rid of them. The music that I've been listening to is the playlist that I've been compiling that I thought was particular to this process. But maybe because I've been working on this for so long, this particular image, maybe the playlist is actually particular to this image. Because it does have a kind of, if I were to give it a colour, it would be a pale pinky peach. This playlist, I know it seems strange. For some reason, certain songs, certain types of music are like a supercharge for particular activities. So sometimes if I take a song off this playlist, it isn't because I don't like the song. It's because I find it very difficult to carry on working and doing this with that particular song. Darker. So I'm not ever really going too far from the clone side when I'm using the clone brush. That makes the fade in small areas more specific to that area. So this is why I need a script. I'm waffling on, and I can only hope that I'm so boring I'm actually sleepy. Ego is a terrible thing. At some point this may look like actual skin. If I carry on with this, I don't want this image to be photographic. I want the strokes to be somewhat visible. These are driving me mad now, because I really, really like them. But, you know, it makes it look strange. They are so nice. Well, maybe if I lighten them a little, or at least try to blend them a little more. I'm going to smooth the dark into the areas around them. At the minute they really stand out. So sometimes you have to go and borrow some colour a bit further away. And then sometimes it's a mistake. I think that's wrong. I think that's just implied light. It's very, very badly enlarged. Put some pink back up there. Just help with the fade. So now, Oriya, My Heron Oblivion has come on. Well, we'll see. It immediately got my heart pumping. My adrenaline has spiked. Let's see if I can make it work. Be so careful here. So anyway, I've gone off the idea of eventually, or maybe just intending for these recordings to be played back at 1.5 speed. So I think if I'm zoomed in enough, you can actually say that I'm doing something. I don't need to speed it up. Therefore, I don't need to talk slowly. Because I don't really want to do much editing. Not until I'm finished with it, anyway. Editing, overlaying sound, finding sound, that's a whole different process. So I'd rather train myself to speak in a certain way about particular types of things. They're just very sharp here. As soon as this zoom, I'll probably want this to be a dark line, but then this needs to be drawn out slightly, just a tiny bit. So I'm quite far back from the line, so I'm picking up some of the pixels at the edge of this, which means that I'm just hinting at below. I need to zoom out to see the curve. tricky area. You continue kind of the light on this curved line here, on this trajectory. But it has to be so subtle. I'll show you another bit I like, that I'm scared of doing, because it's already quite good. That looks terrible there. But look how delicate that fade is. How delicate that is. Perfect. I didn't do that. That was Bing Image Creator. Just gonna naughty. Yeah, because there's just a good feather up. Straight upwards. Sorry, these lovely, lovely marks. I'm gonna have to go. So I'm desperate to not change her attitude. Two of us. From the lights there. What needs to be there darker? I don't like other things. Ah, yes. I've noticed. You take the brush off the work area. You get to see without that ring. If there's any way I can turn off that outline, just do it completely freestyle. I think I need to use the brush for this. And I think I need to be a bit daring. question of the line becoming more diffuse, I think. So all of this lightning here is too much. This will take a lot more work to get right. And when I say right, of course I mean in such a way as satisfactory to me. Then I don't get the satisfaction if I don't hit this note. The silent killer. That should be dark. This is so rough already. I'm just trying to figure out how it all fits together. I don't think that should be so nice. There was some light coming around there. I can add that back in afterwards. I need to figure out how it all goes together first. I'm so hungry, but I think even when I'm taking a break from this, I should probably do something other than eat, because once the carbohydrates and the Scandinol get me, that's me done. So my parasympathetic nervous system is becalmed. This is not delay. I'm gonna spell its party. So what is some colour? And some of that colour, but the line is wrong. I read there. This is the edge. And this is not a small brush, this is 14 pixels, and you can see how it's dwarfed by these clusters of pigment. So I have to build it up. This is sweaty pink here. I'm going to clone the hue of something quite yellow. Green should counteract pink. I'm using like a normal clone now, that motion. Gotta stay where the pigment is. Right. I've got a little more shade here. are some of this very dark. From here, you there. How's the mood seeming? Terrible. Terrible. It's changed the north. It's changed it somewhat. Nowhere near finished with this. Maybe later I'll very carefully go in with the lighten and darken brush. Just to get the very fine touches of light. I don't want this to be too solid a line, but if I'm using the push brush, I don't have much choice. I'll get it in first and then I can harry it a bit. There's an edge there. Concentrating very hard here. Let's get rid of this splodge. I'm gonna use normal. I'm coming way outside of the area to find areas of luminosity and hue that I think would fit. The pink and the brown quite evenly blended there. You can see patches of light. Tries again, hasn't seen me. Terrible. This is I'm moving I'm shifting this area of colour and texture further down, doing it bit by bit instead of a wholesale cut and paste of this area, doing it 14 pixels at a time. It's quite loud there. Darker there. Yeah, bring that further out. Too much. Brush on it. And I'll just feed this very gradually. Slowest run. This is too violent. Targeted there. This area will need a lot more work. Oh, it's starting to look quite strange when you use them out. It's changing.